You're live now. It's live.
Here we are. Can you believe it? Ladies and gentlemen, are you excited?
Oh, there are people there. Wow. Hey, thanks for coming.
There are a few people here. To start things off, my name is Jeremy Parsons. I'm from Reels Channel. It's Reels, TV about movies. We are on cable and satellite all over the country. You can go to Reels.com to get information on how to watch us on television and how to check out some cool videos and all kinds of cool stuff about you, Stan Lee, among other things on our website.
We're all over the country. Now I'm nervous.
He just got nervous. But
I wish you hadn't told me.
Let's do the official introduction, because tonight we have the pleasure of welcoming and hearing from the living legend, the real-life superhero, Stan Lee. Let's give him a big hand here.
Thank you. And thank you. And you.
Yes, so glad to be here. We're very excited. I've got a few people to thank. I want to thank everyone at POW Entertainment, 1821 Pictures, Emerging Entertainment, Phase 3 Digital, and iPic Entertainment for making this event happen. If you'd like to follow Mr. Stan Lee and POW Entertainment, each of you should have received a paper. Looks like this. It has some links to the website and Twitter. If you didn't get one, talk to the manager afterwards. There are a lot of people. It takes a ton of people to get you in the room, sir. That's very impressive.
All I'm thinking is, boy, you read good.
Well, thank you.
This guy speaks so well. Wherever I go, I want you to be the interlocutor.
Did someone, are we rolling on that? Let's make sure. We'll make sure we can do it. Now, what's happening tonight is we're broadcasting this discussion in all iPic theaters across the country. So welcome to that audience as well.
All of them?
All of the iPic theaters
Holy
all
smoke.
across the country.
Should have worn a suit.
We give everyone the opportunity to submit questions when they made their reservations. And so we're going to be asking you questions from your fans, the people that are in theaters all across the country, including this
What
one.
if I don't know the answer?
We'll see. We'll see. I have talked to this man many times. I think you're comfortable talking about the things that we're going to be asking you about.
Okay, good.
Okay. So we'll start off, get right into it here. We're going to be hearing your entire story in this great documentary with great power. But you came from a very simple childhood. So the first question of the night, how did you manage to stay so positive throughout your entire life?
Well, negativity does you no good. And a simple childhood, we all have simple childhoods. But anyway, I think it's easy to be positive if you're doing work you like. And I love what I do. And I love sitting up here and letting him do all the work and I take the credit. I mean, I've always been lucky that way.
Okay, that makes sense. That's good.
That makes sense. If that makes sense to you, you're in big trouble.
All right, now we're going to go back a little bit and kind of tap into your love life.
Uh-oh.
Okay, in 1947, you know what happened. You married your lovely wife, Joan. Lifetime love. So kind of spinning that into, of course, what you're famous for, the comics. With the creation of so many strong women characters throughout all of your comics, how much of Joan do you put into your superhero women?
All of her into everyone.
Really?
Oh, she's going to love hearing that.
I'm sure that's not the first time she's heard that, though. Huh?
Now, the point is, my wife, I think, is incredibly beautiful, smart, charming, fun to be with. So I tried to put those qualities in all the women I wrote about, unless they were villainesses. Okay. Then I didn't make them fun to be with. Then they were dangerous to be with, obviously.
What characters specifically come to mind that you think, I really like, here's this part of Joan in this character? Does something like that come to mind?
Well, Mary Jane, for example, was very peppy and effervescent and kind of hip and cool. That was my wife.
That was your woman?
Yeah.
All right. And she can dance, too. I've seen some clips of the documentary here.
Oh, but that was kidding around. You should have seen her years ago. I mean, she could dance. In fact, when we used to dance, I let her lead. She was so good, I tried to keep up with her.
Oh, my goodness. Can you keep up with her now? That's the real question.
No, there's no way to keep up with Jo.
Okay. All right. Very good. Moving on. Next question. We're getting into one of the favorite, I guess, series that's become these great movies. Talking about the X-Men. In 1963, you created a comic book called the X-Men. We've heard of it. It's a group of mutants. They've managed to evolve almost 50 years. It's kind of like possibly asking a parent to name their favorite kid. Do you have a favorite character in X-Men?
No, I love them all. You're right. It's like asking a parent the favorite kid. The one that I got a big kick out of was the Beast in the beginning, because he looked like the Beast when I first started him. So I tried to make him the most intelligent and articulate of all of them, you see, because I like to go against type.
Okay.
And when I had the Angel, who was very handsome, and when he took off his jacket, his wings would unfurl, and he was so dramatic. And I thought I would make him very conceited. I'd make him wealthy, and he thought he was better than anyone else. And little by little, as the series went on, I would try to make him more likable. But unfortunately, after I don't know how many issues, I stopped writing the thing, and then the other writers took over, and they had different ideas for the characters. So you never know how something will turn out if you yourself aren't writing it all the time. But what they did was improve on it. For instance, they made up the character Wolverine. I wish I had created Wolverine. It's one that I miss.
Okay. Now, it's interesting to hear you saying that and talking about the evolution, something you create. Is it tough for you to kind of release, let go, and let other writers come on board and take it to another
Here's
level?
the way I give it to the others. You can't have it. Leave it alone. I don't. But you have to do that at some point.
Okay.
And I was very wonderful about it. I did that, and I cried a little in private, but I let it go.
Okay, and we're talking about that evolution. Your long-standing, well, let's talk about Scott Summers. People are really into X-Men. His name, I believe, started off as Slim. All right, so did you plan to have him as the lead, to lead the team from the beginning, or was it more organic as you started developing the storylines? Where did that happen in the process?
I thought he might start out being the leader because I wanted to make him kind of a tragic guy. He was in love with whatever her name, Marvel Girl. What was that? I forget the name of the girl.
I wish I knew. Someone here should know. What was it? Jean Grey. Jean Grey.
But what was Jean Grey? What was her name?
Marvel Girl.
I was right. Why didn't you say
Why
you're
am I
right?
failing the test here? My
Okay.
gosh, I've just been written off of everyone's list.
Anyway, he was in love with Marvel Girl or Jean Grey, and yet he could never take off his glasses if he wanted to kiss her or be with her or something. He had to keep those glasses on, and he was always afraid if they got too intimate and the glasses fell off, he could destroy everything. So this was a real tragic situation, and I thought it would be good if this guy, who the readers would feel sorry for, who was very romantic, very handsome, but he couldn't quite be comfortable with the girl he loved, if we could make him the leader. But of course what happened is Xavier really was the leader. And I loved Professor Xavier. Again, I loved the leader being in a wheelchair, but he was brainy enough that he could control everything until Magneto came along. And I loved Magneto. What a great villain. I mean, imagine a guy with the power of magnetism. And I liked the way in the movie, when they captured him, they put him in a plastic place where he couldn't use his magnetic power because there was nothing metal. I mean, I don't know if you appreciate all that stuff, but what a lot of thinking that took.
It definitely did. And it's interesting to hear you say you clearly have a lot of love for those characters as they emerge. It seems like many ended up being the leader by the time it was all said and done. All right. So moving on, a lot of people want to know about your life and career. And I guess from your vantage point now, you have reached this incredible status. No one will ever probably equal what you've done in terms of your... I don't think so. In terms of your influence and simultaneously pop culture, comic culture, and entertainment at large. But for those young...
So why am I not somewhere posing for a bust that'll be put on Mount Rushmore? Why am I wasting time here?
You have modest requests.
Yeah.
All right. But for the young up-and-comers who would like to follow in your footsteps, what's the number one piece of advice?
Got to be serious. I think the most important thing, whatever you do, whether you want to draw, whether you want to write, whether you want to be an actor, whatever it is, do what you really love doing. Do the type of thing that you'd want to do it even if you weren't getting paid because you love it that much. Because I think that's the only way you can succeed at anything, if what you're doing is what you really want to do. Now, beyond that, there's no way to advise anybody. We all have to find our own way. But to me, even though it was very tough in the beginning, I stayed with it because I loved what I was doing, and I think that's so important.
Very cool. The great answer.
Hate being that serious.
No, that's good. That's actually helpful advice.
I'm glad.
That's good. Now, we'll get into the artists you've worked with. You've got a long-standing working relationship with Jack Kirby. It's well documented. What other artists did you really enjoy working with?
Oh, golly, all of them. Steve Ditko, John Romita, Gil Kane, John Buscema, Gene Colan. The list goes on and on. I was the luckiest guy in the world because I worked with the best artists. Of course, I handpicked them, but but they were brilliant, and they made everything that I wrote look even better than it was when I wrote it. So I was very lucky.
You had to have heard from so many artists over the years. What did it take for an artist to pique your eye, to grab your attention?
Well, first of all, the artwork had to look great, but in comics, it's more than just the way you draw. It's the way you tell a story, because each panel has to follow the other panel dramatically. It's almost like you're doing a movie. It's like I'm a big name dropper. Steven Spielberg once said to me, you know, Stan, you and I do essentially the same thing, except my pictures move. Well, the artist doing a comic strip is doing a movie, but the pictures don't move. And if the pictures don't flow gracefully and understandably from one panel to another, he could be the greatest artist in the world, but there'll be an uncomfortable feeling looking at the strip. And there are some artists who maybe are not Michelangelo, but they can tell a story so that when you read it from panel to panel, it flows smoothly and keeps your interest.
Very good.
Not only very good, that was excellent.
That was excellent.
I wish I had recorded it. It was so good.
That was excellent. First time you've probably ever said that. There are a lot of aspiring artists who I think are very interested in getting that piece of advice from you. So here are some questions that you are definitely asked a lot. This is kind of a bullet point list of some questions that people have been asking from our iPic viewers. Are there any superheroes that you created that have never seen the light of day that you wish that you had developed more?
No, all the ones that I created saw the light of day. They were all published, and it looks like every one of them are turning into movies sooner or later. So I have no complaints.
Not a bad place to be.
No complaints.
That's fascinating. So here's another one. With an extremely busy schedule, do you still write and create stories today?
I thought you were going to say, with a busy schedule, what the hell are you doing here? No, I have a company. I have a company called POW Entertainment, with an exclamation at the end of POW, so it doesn't look like prisoner of war.
Okay.
And of course, you all know POW stands for Purveyors of Wonder.
Very cool.
And we at POW are working on movies, television shows, digital entertainment, video games, all types of things. So I'm actually busier than I've ever been.
So the creative juices keep flowing.
Yeah, and I don't actually do all of the writing. I come up with whatever concept I can, and we call the best screenwriters or television writers or whatever that we can find to develop those things and follow through. So in that way, I can be working on a lot of things at one time.
Now, when you're involved in something, it doesn't take long for little nuggets of information to get out and then on the internet, and the people that are really into it just eat it up. Is there something that you're really excited about that you're working on now that we haven't heard a thing about?
Gee, I don't know what you haven't heard about. We're doing a live arena show, you might say, sort of like the Cirque du Soleil, but bigger. And it's going to be done in Macau, in Asia, because that was the only place we could find a theater big enough for it. And the audience is going to be part of the show, something never done before. And it's called Yin and Yang, the Power of Tao. And wait till you see it. But it's about a year off at the moment.
Okay, very cool. Little insight there for what's coming. All right, so next question here. Is there one particular superhero that you can relate to more than the others, or did they each carry a little piece of you inside them?
Oh, they're all me, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sort of the most quintessential superhero of all.
As we know.
And no, I relate to everyone. See, the thing is, when you write these things, and I'm sure every writer feels the same, I am the character when I'm writing it, because that's the only way I can think, what should he do? What would I do? And of course, obviously, I always make the right choice because that's what I have the character do.
Very cool. Wow, that's cool. Is there well, let's say this. This is a good one. A great hero is only great when faced with a terrific villain. This iPic viewer wants to know, are there any villains that you created that just didn't quite make the cut?
Yeah. There was one. When I was doing the Fantastic Four, I was working with Jack Kirby, and we had a deadline, and the book was late. If we didn't have it finished in a certain period of time, we would miss the publication date, which is terrible. So I had to think of a villain quickly, and somehow or other the name Diablo hit me. I said, that's a great name for a villain. I said, Jack, we'll call him Diablo. Quick, draw a guy who looks like Diablo. And we did a story, but I don't remember what power I gave Diablo. I don't remember what the story was. To this day, I have no idea who and what Diablo was. I just remember the name. So I figure it couldn't have been that good, or I would have remembered it. It's probably the only thing I've ever done that maybe the public liked it because they like everything I do. But I wasn't that happy with it, I think.
All right.
Diablo.
Diablo fell off the grid somewhere.
I may bring him back someday.
Okay.
Make him better.
Make him even, absolutely. I think people would love to see that. And this may be part of the same answer, I guess. This question may have part of that as the answer. But with hindsight, as you look back, are there any characters that you would have changed? And in what ways would you have changed them now?
Diablo. I
guess
made
Diablo,
him more
maybe
memorable.
that's the answer. Okay.
No, all the others were perfect, as you all know.
All right. Here we go. Like Alfred Hitchcock, you have made a cameo in each of your films. How did that start? And we hear that the cameo in a film this summer is going to be very cool.
Well, it started with Bryan Singer, who was doing the X-Men. He said, Stan, get behind a hamburger stand or something and sell hot dogs. And I was in the background during a scene. And I loved it because I'm a ham. So every movie that was done later, I said, can I sell hot dogs? Well, they didn't all have hot dog things, so I did different things. And what was the second part of the question?
So the second part, I hear there's a good cameo in a film this summer. That's very cool. I'm assuming we're talking about the
I'm sure you've all seen or about to see the Avengers.
Right.
So we won't get into that.
Yes.
Thank you. But the Spider-Man film that follows has a cameo of mine that is probably the most exciting part of the whole movie, as most of them are. And I can't tell you what it is, but I promise you're going to get a big kick out of it. You'll laugh like hell when you see it. It's very funny.
And I talked to you just a couple weeks ago at the premiere of this documentary just outside there, and you talked about kind of anticipating the cameo for X-Men 3. And I think you were worried that you might have to go to China.
Well, what I'm always afraid of, see, I missed a couple of cameos. In the last X-Men movie, I think they shot that in Australia, and I wasn't able to go there.
I'm sorry, I meant Iron Man 3. Did I say X-Men 3? I meant Iron Man 3.
That's okay.
Yeah, right.
You see, you talk so beautifully that all I do is concentrate on how well you're saying it. I don't know what the hell you're talking
and
about.
And then you make it make sense. I got you.
I try.
Thank you. It's a team effort.
So, the Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3.
Yeah, they're supposed to shoot it in China. I just hope they shoot part of it here in the States so I can do my cameo, because obviously without my cameo, there's no guarantee it'll be a hit.
Very good. That's right.
Why would anybody go?
All right. That's true. We're all looking for it. Next question. Comics have taught generations about acceptance and tolerance. What lessons do you hope comics can teach children moving forward these days?
Well, to be serious for a minute, the one lesson that I always tried to put in the books is that just because somebody looks different or is a different nationality, a different color, anyway, that doesn't make them bad. We've got to like everybody. Give everybody a chance. The X-Men probably was the most glaring example of that, because the X-Men were hated just because they had superpowers. And people were wrong to hate them. They should have embraced what they were trying to do. In the Black Panther, in the beginning of that series, I tried to deal with that theme also. And in a book you may not remember called Sergeant Fury and His Howling Commandos, I wrote the first platoon that was mixed ethnicities. We had a black soldier, a Jewish soldier, an Italian soldier, an English soldier, an American Indian soldier, on and on. And everybody said to me, this book will never sell in the South. It'll never sell in the North. It'll never sell here, there. It was a great seller, and that was the most satisfying thing I've done.
Wow. So really kind of crossed all the expectations,
absolutely,
politically, socially, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So final question here from a viewer, or one of the final ones.
That's all they asked? All those millions of people, that's all they could ask?
There are more. We'll keep going here. Has collecting comic books, this is kind of tapping into where technology is moving, okay? Has collecting...
Like I know.
Has collecting comic books lost some of the magic with digital books, or do you see the technology as an advantage since your parents can now... can't throw them away accidentally when you leave for college?
Well, they could always throw away the disc or whatever it is.
Or whatever it is.
But no, I think people will always like comic books. There's something so nice about them. You can read it and turn the pages. You can fold it and put it in your pocket. When you're finished, you put it on a shelf. You put the next issue over it. Before you know it, you've got a collection of comics. And if you find the artist, you ask them to sign them. You can't do that with a digital comic book. So I think there'll always be comics. But comics will be in many forms, certainly the digital form. And you'll be able to see them on your phone, on your iPhone, and you'll see them on your wristwatch, and you'll probably see them in your mind. I don't know. We are advancing technologically so that nobody can predict what the next few years will bring.
Okay. And I guess to that end, when you look back at the many things that you've worked on over the years, there have to be so many relics or pieces of memorabilia that you've kind of kept along the way. I would imagine walking in your house, you've got to have a man cave somewhere or something where it's just covered with things that people would pay endless amounts of money to have.
Oh, I wish so.
Maybe they will later. Is there something that you're particularly proud of, that you love the most?
Well, I love everything. A funny thing happened. Years ago, in 1950, I did a book called The Black Rider. It was a Western book. And just for fun, I thought I would have a photograph on the cover instead of a drawing, and I would pose as the Black Rider. So I bought a black pair of jeans and a black shirt. I bought a black cowboy hat in the 5 and 10. You don't know what a 5 and 10 is anymore. And I got 2 little toy pistols, and I'm standing like this. It says The Black Rider. Oh, and I bought a black bandana, and I covered my face.
Cool.
Somebody sent me that book yesterday.
Really?
Some fan. And he said, in case you haven't seen it lately or don't have it, I want to give it to you. And I was so thrilled with the picture of me on it. So that's I forget what the question was, but I hope that's the answer.
No, that's the answer. I think that's the answer, and it's a very up-to-date answer. I think we're going to open up here. We've got a quick moment. We've got a little extra time to ask. I'll get some questions, a couple questions from the crowd.
As long as they're easy.
They've got to be easy, and I'll repeat them to you, and we'll make sure everyone can hear them. Any questions? We'll just do a couple of these. Any bold person? Here we go. Here we go.
What are your thoughts about the new Avengers versus X-Men comic that just came out?
The new Avengers versus the new X-Men comic that just came out.
What about it?
What do you think?
I think it'll be magnificent. What do you expect me to say?
Any other questions? Yes, in the back.
With so many movies coming out about comic books, do you prefer them being true to the original work or to be relevant and maybe entertaining?
With so many new movies coming out about comic books, do you prefer the stories to be true to the original work, or more important that they just be entertaining?
Both. If they get too far from the original work, people will be disappointed. But you can't follow a comic book exactly because movies are a different medium and you have to adapt what's in the comic book or what's in a novel or a stage show for the movie. You have to make certain changes. You just mustn't change. See, the one mistake producers usually make, it doesn't have to be a comic book, there's a best-selling novel. And they make a movie adaptation, but they don't stop to analyze what was it that made that a best-selling novel? What's the one quality everybody loved? And they may leave out that one quality in doing the novel. So with a comic book, you've got to figure out, why do the fans love this book? And whatever that reason is, you keep that element in the movie. But sometimes you have to make some changes to make it a better movie. Boy, that was a brilliant answer.
Very brilliant answer.
Hope you're
Excellent
paying
again.
attention.
I hope
Yeah.
someone's recording
I hope somebody's
this.
recording
I think we have
this.
one more over on this side here. Yes.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of you. Now that the Avengers is coming out, are we ever going to see something like the Secret Wars or the Onslaught Saga?
Now that the Avengers are out, are we going to see something like the Onslaught Saga?
I wouldn't be surprised. But I can't say for sure because, frankly, I'm not the guy who makes those decisions. And nobody has told me. But there are people at Marvel and at Disney sitting right now and saying, what'll we do next? What's a sure thing? What is the public waiting for? What are the fans craving? And the chances are that's one of the things on the table.
Very good. Question here in the middle.
You told us that everyone should follow their passion and do what they love. And I'm curious how and when you discovered that you love to write.
You were saying that everyone should follow their passion in doing what they love. When did you discover that you knew you had what it takes to write?
Well, I always wanted to be a writer, because I wanted to be everything. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be an advertising man. I love advertising. But I never wanted to be a comic book writer in the beginning. But I got that job, and I needed a job. And the more I stayed in it, and the more I found myself working with really terrific artists, and I was impressed by them, and I wanted to try to write stories that would show up their talent well enough. And I began to get so interested in what I was doing that it never occurred to me to leave. It just got more and more interesting. And where else can you get a chance to dream up a different story every day and have some artist draw it, and then you could see it later, and you say, wow, that was my idea, and look how great he made it. It's very gratifying. So that was it.
And to follow up with that, was there a moment with your writing and your creative juices, every single day you're putting out a story or you're coming up with things, where you hit a real wall, and how did you get over that?
No, I'm lucky. I've never had writer's cramp. But the one thing that did happen, it may be in the documentary, I had been writing in the beginning stories that my publisher wanted me to write, and he didn't have that much respect for the public. He felt the books are either read by very young kids or semi-literate adults. Okay. So he would say to me, Stan, don't use words of more than 2 syllables. Don't worry about personality, about characterization, dialogue. Just give me action, action, action. That's what they want. Well, I did it because I was making a living. But at some point I said, gee, I'd like to write something better than this, so I wanted to quit and try my luck at something else. And my wife gave me the greatest piece of advice in the world. She said, you know, if you want to quit, before you do, why don't you write one story the way you'd like to write it? The worst that can happen is he'll fire you, and you want to quit anyway. So that's what I did, the Fantastic Four, and luckily it sold. So then he asked me to do others. I think I did the Hulk, the X-Men. I don't remember what the order was, Spider-Man. So then it became very interesting to me again, because I was trying to put personality and characterization in the stories. I started using a college-level vocabulary, and then I stayed ever since.
Another excellent answer. And we've got another question from back in the back at the top there with the glasses. He would like to be adopted as your honorary son.
I've got about 1,000 of them already. I can use another one. Thank you.
The money's already going everywhere. Okay.
Well, really, what I wanted to ask is, how do you feel about the reboot of like Spider-Man being done so soon after the?
How do I feel about what?
How do you feel about the reboot of Spider-Man being done so soon after the other series had kind of?
Well, how long should they wait? You know, the guys at Marvel and Disney are like me. They're eager to do these things. Okay, we did one Spider-Man movie. What do we do for the next one? They don't want to wait. And I might add, I met Andrew Garfield, and he is going to be great as Spider-Man, just the way Tobey was. Nobody thought Tobey would be any good as Spider-Man. He's not a movie star, and he was wonderful. The same with Garfield. Everybody says, but he doesn't look like Tobey. Doesn't matter. He looks like Peter Parker ought to look, just like Tobey did. And I think you're going to love him.
That's a great endorsement. Any lead actor obviously would love to have that, and we're all looking forward to that Spider-Man. I do think we have time for one more, the man tells me, and he's pointing to the back in the corner with the hat. She's up there. She's waving. Wave at her.
Wave?
There she is, over on the side there.
Is that what I was asked to do, to wave?
She wanted you to wave at her.
I'm a good waver. I'm very good at this.
What are your thoughts about the Spider-Man musical?
Oh, I saw the rehearsal, which I enjoyed very much. Oh, it must have been a year and a half, 2 years ago. I haven't seen it since. But I hear that since they fixed it up, it's much better. It's doing a land office business, and I hope one day when I go to New York, when I go there, I never have time to do anything, but the next time I go, I'm going to try to see it. I hope you invite me back, and I'll give you a report then.
Very good. We will be keeping tabs on you on Twitter. You're on the social media sites. You're everywhere. We
everywhere.
Look forward to that. Guys, that is it for us. Let's give Stan Lee a big hand. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for being here.
Enjoyed it. Hey, you did a great job.
Thanks so much. And we're anxious for this movie. So we'll take a couple minutes, we'll clean up, and then we'll be on with the show here.
Okay.
Thanks
What do
again.
I do now?
I think we're going to walk right out here.
I follow you.
Follow me. Let's
I
go.
won't
Here
know
we go.
where to
Mr.
go.
Lee.
All right,
We'll
you lead on.
hand in hand.
See you all.
And away we go.
I think I forgot to say Excelsior.